So I'm going to tell a story in two different ways. I'll start by telling it in kind of a normal, just a normal way. And then I'll tell it again from a perspective of lineage. So, as I mentioned, I'm from Minnesota, and I grew up in and around the Twin Cities, and I always had a deep love for storytelling. And I always was very creative, and I would specifically write stories about my family. But when I was a teenager, I became very, very passionate about filmmaking. And I attended an arts high school, and my dream was to attend New York University's film program, which is considered to be a renowned film program. For those of you who aren't in the US, I will just add that NYU is like kind of a designer university and that it has a lot of prestige and brand name. But at the time, I was very, very impressed by that. So I worked really hard and I submitted my portfolio and I was accepted into NYU. But it is extremely expensive. Tuition is over 4 years is hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I had no sense of where that money would come from. And kind of in a way that felt like out of the blue, because I had felt very excited. I told my family members that I was accepted. My dad's mother, my grandmother, um, in a way that was out of character for her, decided that she would create an education trust that would pay for my college education at NYU. Um, and I was very happy. I felt very lucky. It felt like luck and that I had earned my place, and this was a way of kind of the universe supporting that. And I went to that university. So that's maybe a normal way of telling a story. And now I'll apply a lineage lens to tell the same story. So in the 1770s, a man named Frederick Ezzell fought in the Revolutionary War. And he was given a voucher for his time as a soldier, a voucher to buy land. And he went to a place called Marvin, North Carolina, and he bought land using that voucher in a time in this country when only white men could buy land. And he didn't have much money, but he did have that land, and he farmed it, and he was able to start to accumulate wealth. And that land was passed down to his son. And his son, Frederick Jr., enslaved 3 people to help farm that land, 3 Africans. And he accumulated even more wealth through the use of their labor. And when he died, his son, Thomas Jefferson Ezzell, inherited that land and the enslaved people and the accumulated wealth. And that wealth just grew during his lifetime. And by the time of the Civil War, that land, which was turned into a cotton plantation, was being worked by nearly 24 enslaved people, including children. And during the Civil War, the enslaved people were finally allowed to be free. And my family, my Thomas Jefferson, was not able to continue to exploit their labor, but he still had that land and the accumulated wealth. And his son, my great-grandfather, Franklin Clyde, inherited that land, and his son, Burton Ezzell, my grandfather, inherited that land. And that land stayed in my family until 2007, where it was sold right before the financial crash for a huge profit. And that wealth was in the hands of my grandmother, and a portion of it is what paid for my college education at New York University. So we'll just sit with that for a moment, because I know that's a lot. And just noticing anything that might be surfacing in your body.